Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer. If you are new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. So talking about a first world problem today, the big mistake, or the big little mistake, maybe you could say, that Nintendo made when bringing Hogan's Alley, the 1984, I believe it was, VS versus game, you know, their versus arcade cabs, Nintendo. They brought Hogan's Alley from the arcades to their NES console. It was a black box launch title. There were 18 launch titles for the NES, and Hogan's Alley was one I was really excited about because it's just about exactly like the arcade game. This is the same cartridge I got back in the day. I don't know why I don't have the box. I saved my NES boxes. Who can say anymore? But it is a game designed for use with the awesome NES Zapper, the Nintendo Zapper light gun, one of the greatest peripherals in all of gaming. It's super durable. It's very accurate. Love the light gun. There's a lot of cool light gun games. Now, Hogan's Alley was one I was super pumped about. It's so arcade accurate. It looks so much like the arcade game, and I'd heard about it, and that was one of the first titles I wanted to buy for the NES after I got my console. And I did get it, and it does look and play a lot like the arcade game, with one major exception. And I'll get to that in just a little bit, but just a little bit about the game. It's a quick reaction light gun game that really tests your eye-hand coordination. You shoot bad guys, you know, gangsters, and you avoid shooting the innocents. And there's no gray area here. You know, you can obviously tell who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, including a pretty girl. No, pretty girls have never committed crimes. You never want to shoot them. Anyway, not much nuance here, but you know, couple of the characters have the same color, and they're roughly, you know, some of the guys are roughly similar in design. So when you're shooting real quick, it is easy to shoot an innocent. It's kind of a challenging game. It's a lot of fun, and there's 3 types of gameplay: target shooting, and then a city area where you shoot more targets, and there's a mode of play where you shoot cans. And these are like cardboard cutouts, targets of these people. And in the arcade, each of the 3 types of gameplay played in succession. You shot the targets, and then you go to the city, and you shoot the targets within the city environment. And then you play the bonus round and shoot these cans, you know, that go through the air, and you shoot them to keep them going. The mistake Nintendo made when they brought the Hogan's Alley to the NES was they divided these 3 types of gameplay into 3 modes of play, 3 separate games. I was so disappointed with this. And this sounds like a little deal. And of course, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, we're in a pandemic. This is a very small deal. But at the time, I was 21 years old in 1988. I didn't have a I didn't have a mortgage yet, or a wife or kids or anything, and video games were the end all and be all, so important. And I was just so bummed by that, because in the arcades, you played the 3 games in succession in the same game, and you know, your score was added to it with each one, and then it had diversity. But for some stupid reason, Nintendo divided each game into completely separate games. Now, for a lot of their black box games, there are 2 games, like game A and B, but those are just difficulty levels. These are 3 separate games. And for comparison, imagine if you played Super Mario Brothers, and each of the 8 worlds were divided into 8 different games on the selection screen. And once you beat World 1, your game was over. And then you could play World 2, and then when you were finished with that, that's over. Now, that's an extreme example, obviously, you know, an adventure game, a platformer compared to, you know, a light gun shooter, but still, same principle applies. It breaks it up for no good reason, and it makes the game more repetitive, not as much fun, not as much of an overall challenge. It's just kind of a bummer. Just one little thing that really bugged me back in the day, and I think it was just a bad design element. So in the comments, let me know what game disappointed you back in the day, or more recently, a game that you were really looking forward to, or that you heard was good, and just something about it, even something small, relatively small like this. I call this Nintendo's big little mistake with Hogan's Alley. Now, make no mistake, it's a great game. The light gun action is very accurate. It's fun, you know, it's just good for, you know, just a few minutes of entertainment, and I like it. I still play it from time to time. But it's just so disappointing that they divided the game into 3 separate games for no reason. And I guess they did that maybe to make it look like the game had more options, you know, like Atari used to do with Space Invaders, having 112 games, even though that was more like game variations. But anyway, I could ramble on about this big little problem Nintendo made with Hogan's Alley, maybe for another few minutes, but that might be going on a little much with something so relatively insignificant like this. All right, guys, thank you for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. This has been a kind of just a little fun episode of Tales from a Retro Gamer. Not that, you know, impactful, but it did, as a 21-year-old hardcore NES fan, it did bug me quite a bit. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. And again, in the comments, just put what game were you disappointed with, but maybe even still enjoy, but you were just disappointed with one aspect of it. All right, guys, thanks a lot. We will talk to you guys later.